Welcome to a calm journey through the mists of time, dear traveler. Before we drift away, tell me, where are you watching from, and what hour does the clock show in your quiet room? I would be truly delighted to read your presence and your thoughts in the comments below. Now I invite you to leave the heaviness of the day behind, letting it fall away like a heavy cloak slide into the floor. Allow your mind to drift, weightless and free, into the deep, comforting embrace of the ancient past. Have you ever looked up at the vast night sky and wondered what secret the stars whispered to the wise astronomers of old? Can you imagine the profound silence of a jungle city sleeping under the protective, shimmering gaze of the Milky Way? Let us seek these answers together, slowly and without haste, in the heart of the Maya world. The year is long forgotten by modern calendars, hidden deep within the lush, breathing embrace of the Yucatan Peninsula. High above the dense canopy, the air is thick with the sweet, heavy scent of damp earth and night-blooming jasmine. A profound darkness wraps around the circular stone observatory, a darkness that feels soft, heavy, and velvety against the skin. Here stands Kinich, the keeper of the days, standing motionless and silent atop the great stone platform. The limestone beneath his bare feet is cool, retaining the refreshing chill of the deepest hours of the night. He breathes in slowly, filling his lungs with the heavy, humid air of the sleeping rainforest. Below him, the great city lies in absolute silence, save for the rhythmic, hypnotic chirping of hidden crickets. The massive temples glow faintly in the starlight, standing like pale, silent ghosts rising from the sea of greenery. He gently adjusts the heavy jade ornaments around his neck, the cool stone touching his warm skin with a grounding weight. His gaze is fixed upward towards the endless, sparkling river of stars that flows across the obsidian sky. This is not merely a sky to him, it is a sacred map, a living story, and a divine calendar. The wind whispers softly through the narrow stone arches of the observatory, carrying ancient, forgotten secrets. He narrows his eyes, focusing intently on the slow, majestic dance of Venus rising slowly in the east. Every subtle movement in the heavens is a syllable in the silent language of the gods. The long Quetzal feathers on his headdress ruffle gently in the breeze, rustling like dry autumn leaves. He feels a deep, grounding connection to the solid stone structure that supports him high above the ground. Time seems to stand completely still here, suspended in the quiet space between the earth and the cosmos. There is no rush, no urgency, only the eternal, predictable cycle of the celestial bodies. He traces the jagged line of the horizon where the black jungle meets the deep, dark violet of the sky. A sense of profound peace settles over his spirit, heavy, warm, and infinitely comforting. The world is vast, and he is but a silent, patient observer of its majestic turning. In this quiet solitude, under the watchful eyes of the ancestors, the first chapter of our night begins to unfold. He turns slowly, his movements deliberate and graceful, like the shifting shadows of the moon. Beside him rests a small, low wooden table, carved with the intricate glyphs of time. Upon it lies the sacred book, the Codex, its pages made of beaten bark and coated with fine white lime. The surface of the paper is textured and rough under his fingertips, a landscape of fibers. He picks up a slender reed brush, feeling its familiar balance and lightness in his hand. Carefully, he dips the tip into a small clay pot filled with dark, thick soot ink. The smell of the wet ink mixes with the scent of burning copal resin wafting from a burner nearby. Smoke rises in thin, curling ribbons, disappearing into the vast emptiness above. He looks through the narrow observation slit cut precisely into the thick stone wall. Through this slender window, the bright, piercing light of the morning star aligns perfectly. It is a moment of pure geometry, where stone and star meet in silent agreement. He brings the brush to the paper, the tip hovering just above the surface for a heartbeat. With a steady hand, he paints a dot, a single point of data in the river of time. The ink glistens wetly in the dim starlight, dark as the jaguar's spots. He adds a bar beneath the dot, calculating the cycles with practiced ease. The sound of the brush on the bark paper is a soft whisper, barely audible. Around him, the jungle begins to stir with the very first subtle shifts of the coming morning. A distant howl echoes through the trees, a lonely sound that emphasizes the solitude. The air grows slightly cooler, a chill that heralds the approach of dawn. He wraps his cotton mantle tighter around his shoulders, seeking warmth against the damp mist. Mist begins to gather in the valleys below, swirling like a slow, ghostly river. From this height, the world seems covered in a blanket of soft, white clouds. He feels a profound sense of duty, a weight that is both heavy and honorable. To record the sky is to maintain the order of the earth below. His eyes return to the heavens, tracing the path of the Pleiades cluster. They are faint jewels, scattered carelessly by a divine hand across the velvet dark. He marks their position relative to the roof line of the great temple across the plaza. Every measurement is a prayer, every calculation a sacred offering to the cosmos. The silence is thick, enveloping him in a cocoon of concentration and reverence. Here, in the quiet dark, history is being written one star at a time. The eastern horizon begins to soften, bleeding slowly from deep black to a bruised indigo. One by one, the fainter stars extinguish themselves, retreating silently into the ether. Kinich watches this daily miracle with the wonder of a child and the wisdom of a sage. The heavy velvet curtain of night is slowly lifted by invisible divine hands. A pale gray light begins to wash over the limestone stones, revealing their weathered texture. The birds of the morning begin their chorus, a rising tide of sound from the canopy below. First, the deep, resonant call of a motmot echoes hollowly through the mist. Then, the raucous chatter of parrots splashes invisible color into the auditory landscape. The air shifts, losing its stagnation, stirring with the waking breath of the jungle. He places the reed brush down gently, its work for the dark hours finally complete. His fingers are stained with ink, a permanent mark of his service to the sky. He rubs his tired eyes, feeling the coolness of his skin against his warm palms. The stone beneath his feet changes subtly from cold to cool, anticipating the coming heat. Below, in the vast plazas, the first movements of the city begin to stir. A curl of wood smoke rises from a distant hut, smelling of hearth, corn, and home. He feels a sudden pang of hunger, a grounding reminder of his mortal body. But first, he must greet the sun god, Kinich Ahau, as he emerges from the underworld. He turns his face fully to the east, closing his eyes to feel the first touch of warmth. The sky turns to a soft violet, then blooms into a delicate, powdery pink. The silhouettes of the great ceiba trees stand sharp and black against the brightening light. Dewdrops on the stone railing glisten like scattered diamonds waiting to be collected. The world is being painted anew, color returning to the gray monochrome of the night. He breathes in the changing air, tasting the moisture and the green life of the forest. A sense of profound renewal washes over him, cleansing the fatigue of the long watch. The shadows stretch long and thin, reaching out across the observatory floor like fingers. It is the time of transition, the sacred threshold between the dark and the day. He stands tall, a silent bridge between the heavens above and the earth below. The silence of the night gives way to the low, steady hum of existence. Peace remains, but it changes flavor, becoming brighter, sharper, and more vibrant. The day has arrived, soft and inevitable, at the stone steps of the temple. Ah! He gathers his tools, carefully wrapping the precious codex in a cloth of soft jaguar skin. With slow, measured steps, he begins the descent of the spiraling stone staircase. The stone is uneven beneath his feet, worn smooth by generations of stargazers before him. Down, down, down he moves, sinking back into the embrace of the waking earth. The air grows warmer and thicker as he descends below the level of the tree line. He emerges into the plaza, where the morning light strikes the white limestone with brilliance. The great city is slowly shaking off the heavy slumber of the night. He hears the rhythmic slap, slap, slap of women shaping maize dough into round tortillas. It is a heartbeat sound, the steady, comforting pulse of the city's daily life. The smell of roasting corn is sweet and smoky, drifting lazily on the breeze. He walks past a row of tall stone stelae, their carved faces watching him pass. A stray dog, thin and golden, trots quietly across his path, tail wagging low. He nods gently to a sweeper who is clearing fallen leaves from the sacred way. The sweeper bows low, respecting the man who speaks with the stars. Kenich's house lies near the edge of the ceremonial center, shaded by tall, leafy trees. It's a humble dwelling, walls of white wattle and daub, roof of dried palm thatch. The entrance is open, inviting the morning breeze to sweep through the simple rooms. Inside, the shadows are cool and blue, a refreshing refuge from the rising sun. His wife, Ixchel, stands by the central hearth, her silhouette framed by the glowing embers. She turns to him, her eyes crinkling with a silent, familiar greeting. He places the wrapped codex on a high wooden shelf, safe from moisture and curious hands. His body feels heavy now, the adrenaline of the night watch slowly fading away. He sits on a low wooden bench, letting his limbs relax completely into the wood. Ixchel hands him a clay bowl, warm and rough against his tired palms. Inside is a tole, a thick, hot drink made of ground corn and wild honey. He brings the bowl to his lips, inhaling the comforting, earthy steam. The first sip is rich and sweet, spreading a deep warmth through his chest. Outside, the noise of the city grows, but here there is only quiet, domestic peace. He watches dust motes dancing slowly in a single shaft of sunlight cutting through the door. The simple rhythm of the earth is as beautiful to him as the complex dance of the stars. The sun reaches its zenith, standing proud and fierce directly overhead. Outside, the jungle falls silent, oppressed by the heavy shimmering heat. Even the monkeys cease their chatter, seeking the deep shade of the high branches. But in the dreamscape of Kinich, the air is cool and filled with starlight. He drifts through a river of silver, floating past constellations of jaguar and snake. The rhythm of his breathing is deep and steady, an anchor in the quiet room. A gentle breeze pushes through the doorway, carrying the scent of drying maize. It ruffles the edge of the woven mat, a tiny movement in the stillness. The shadows on the floor shift slowly, lengthening as the hours creep by. Dust motes continue their slow, suspended waltz in the shafts of light. Somewhere nearby, a potter's wheel turns with a low, rhythmic, droning sound. The sound vibrates through the ground, a lullaby from the waking world. Ixchel has paused her weaving, her hands resting quietly in her lap. She watches the rise and fall of her husband's chest with a soft gaze. The house breathes with them, the thatch expanding slightly in the warmth. Time is not measured here by minutes, but by the movement of the light. A hummingbird pauses at the entrance, a blur of iridescent emerald green. Its wings hum a low note, hovering for a heartbeat before darting away. The world outside is bright and blinding, a contrast to this dim sanctuary. Deep within a rest, Kenich's mind organizes the patterns of the night. He sees the geometry of Venus, the precise turning of the great cycles. Tell, sleep is not an emptiness for him, but a different kind of seeing. The afternoon wears on, softening the sharp edges of the midday sun. The gold of the light deepens, turning to a rich, warm amber hue. Coolness begins to creep back into the air, promising relief. A distant rumble of thunder rolls across the canopy, low and guttural. It is the voice of the rain god Chak, murmuring in the mountains. The sound stirs Kinich from the depths of his restorative slumber. He blinks his eyes open, greeted by the soft, familiar gloom of his home. The day has turned, and the cycle continues its endless rotation. The roar of the storm softens into a steady, rhythmic drumming on the thatch. It is a lullaby, sung by the heavens to the waiting earth. Cool mist sprays gently against his face, refreshing and clean. He turns back into the warm, glowing heart of the small home. Ixchel has fed the hearth fire with dry branches of pine. The flames dance and crackle, casting long, leaping shadows on the walls. The air inside is thick with the savory scent of black beans simmering. A hint of spicy chili hangs in the air, waking the senses gently. She shapes the last tortilla, her hands moving with ancient muscle memory. He sits near the fire, feeling the heat seep into his damp skin. The contrast between the cold rain outside and the warmth here is absolute. It is a feeling of safety, of a small fortress against the elements. She hands him a wooden bowl, the steam rising in curling ribbons. They eat in a comfortable, companionable silence, needing no words. The sound of chewing and the crackle of fire are the only interruptions. Outside, the day begins to fade into the gray embrace of twilight. The green of the jungle turns to a deep, mysterious black. Rainwater drips from the eaves, counting the seconds like a water clock. Drop, 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 falling into the puddles below. He feels a deep gratitude for this simple nourishment. The food warms him from the inside, settling heavy and good in his stomach. His eyes trace the soot marks on the ceiling, reading them like stars. Every meal is a gift from the maize god, a cycle completed. The storm has scrubbed the world clean, leaving it fresh and new. The heavy humidity lifts, replaced by a crisp, washed clarity. He finishes the last bite, wiping the bowl clean with a piece of bread. A sense of drowsiness returns, not from fatigue, but from contentment. The firelight glows in Ixchel's dark eyes as she looks at him. It is a moment of perfect, suspended balance in the flow of time. The evening awaits, bringing with it the return of the stars. The rain slows to a sporadic, gentle dripping from the heavy trees. A profound silence settles over the jungle, heavy and expectant. The air is now scrubbed clean, crisp, and incredibly rare to the lungs. Kainich rises from the low stool, his movements becoming deliberate again. It is time to adorn himself for the nightly audience with the sky. He opens a cedar box, the wood smelling spicy, ancient, and sweet. From it, he lifts a necklace of heavy polished jade beads. They feel cold against his skin, green as the deepest part of the forest. Each bead represents a cycle, a prayer, a captured moment of time. He ties the leather thongs, feeling the familiar weight settle on his chest. Ixchel hands him his mantle, now dry and folded with care. Her hands brush his shoulder, a silent, grounding blessing for the night. He steps to the open doorway, inhaling the scent of wet earth. The smell of petrichor is strong, the perfume of the breathing soil. He steps out, his sandals squelching softly in the damp ground. Above, the clouds are breaking apart, revealing deep chasms of stars. The moon is fighting its way through the ragged edges of gray. Its light reflects in the hundreds of fresh puddles on the path. The ground has become a mirror, perfectly reflecting the heavens above. He walks through a world that is doubled, sky above and sky below. The chirping of frogs begins, a new orchestra for the wet night. Their throats swell with song, celebrating the generous gift of water. He navigates the winding path by memory and by the pale moonlight. The great pyramid looms ahead, dark and wet, glistening like obsidian. It rises from the earth like a man-made mountain of absolute order. The steps are slick, demanding respect and careful, slow attention. He begins the climb again, ascending toward the realm of the gods. The sleeping city below falls away, disappearing into the shadows. He is leaving the world of men to return to the world of time. The night has fully reclaimed him, cold, clear, and infinitely vast. He reaches the summit, breathless, his chest rising and falling in rhythm with the wind. The platform is washed clean, the stone shining like a polished mirror of silver. Here, high above the jungle, the air is thin, sharp, and exhilaratingly cold. He is alone in the center of the universe, a solitary point of consciousness. The clouds have fully dispersed, fleeing to the edges of the horizon like defeated armies. The Milky Way, the Great White Road, arches directly overhead in breathtaking glory. It looks like a river of spilled milk, glowing with a soft, ghostly luminescence. He sees the dark rift within it, the entrance to Xibalba, the underworld. It is a terrifying and beautiful abyss, a black silence amidst the light. He sets up his cross sticks, aligning them with the corner of the distant temple. Tonight, his eyes seek the wandering red star, the fiery shield of war. Mars burns with a steady, unblinking crimson light in the western sky. Its color is the color of dried blood, distinct against the diamond white of the other stars. He carefully records its position, noting its slow retrograde motion against the background. The movement is subtle, a secret whispered only to those who watch for lifetimes. The silence here is absolute, not the quiet of sleep, but the quiet of space. He feels the rotation of the earth beneath his feet, a slow, titanic turning. The city below is a black void, its fires extinguished, its people dreaming. He is the guardian of their dreams, the watcher who ensures the sun will return. A shooting star slashes across the zenith, a sudden scratch of white fire. He holds his breath, capturing the omen in his mind before it vanishes. The universe is alive, constantly speaking, constantly shifting its vast weight. He feels small, insignificant, yet crucially connected to the grand design. The cold stone of the parapet presses against his hip, a solid reality. He wraps his cloak tighter, the jaguar skin offering the warmth of the animal. The night deepens, the darkness becoming thicker, more textured and profound. He is suspended in a void of stars, floating in the great celestial ocean. Time dissolves completely here. There is no past, no future, only the eternal now. He is merely an eye, seeing for the gods, witnessing the beauty of creation. The cosmos breathes, and he breathes with it, in perfect, silent unison. He turns his gaze from the red wanderer to the crossed wooden sticks. The sighting tool is simple, yet it unlocks the infinite secrets of the sky. He aligns his eye with the smooth V-shaped notch carved into the wood. Through this narrow aperture, chaos organizes itself into perfect, divine order. He picks up a handful of small, smooth counting stones from a pouch. They click softly together in his palm, a dry, mineral sound like rattling bones. He places one stone on a low wall for every celestial cycle passed. The mathematics of his people is a language of dots and bars. In his mind, numbers are not abstract. They are living gods with faces. He visualizes the number 0, the shell glyph, empty yet holding everything. It is the cosmic seed from which all other numbers grow and bloom. The wind picks up, whistling low and mournful through the open stonework. It sounds like a flute played by a lonely spirit in the dark void. He feels a shiver, not of cold, but of proximity to the unseen. The veil between the worlds is thinnest here at this deep hour. He murmurs the ancient names of the days, Imex, Ik, Akbal. The words taste like old dust, copal, and starlight on his tongue. He is calculating the rise of the morning star for the Chumash planting. The farmers sleeping below depend on these silent, solitary calculations. If he errs, the corn may wither and the people may suffer hunger. The weight of this responsibility settles on his shoulders like a heavy mantle. He checks the alignment again, doubting, then confirming with absolute certainty. Precision is his offering, the only sacrifice the stars truly demand. The stones on the wall form a pattern, a prophecy written in miniature. He traces the shape with his finger, memorizing the sacred sequence. The night sky seems to nod in silent, glittering approval of his work. A sense of deep, rhythmic satisfaction fills his chest and mind. He is a weaver of time, knitting the days into a seamless tapestry. The pattern is complex, endless, and terrifyingly beautiful to behold. He rests his hands, letting the starlight wash over them like water. He savors the grainy texture of the corn, a taste as old and sacred as his people. Ixchel moves quietly to the corner where her backstrap loom waits patiently for her touch. She sits, strapping the wooden bars around her waist with practiced, fluid ease. The tension of the threads is adjusted tight and singing silently like harp strings. He watches her hands, brown and nimble, dancing amongst the colorful strands of cotton. The wooden shuttle passes back and forth with a soft, rhythmic clack, clack. It is a soothing metronome, measuring out the peaceful minutes of the morning. The thread is dyed a deep, rich indigo, the precise color of the twilight sky. He sees the pattern emerging slowly, a geometric snake winding through the fabric. The repetition of her movements lulls his mind into a deeper, softer state of rest. Outside, the sun climbs higher, baking the earth with its growing golden intensity. But inside these thick walls, the air remains still and pleasantly tempered. He sets the empty clay bowl down on the packed earth floor beside him. A small beetle, shimmering green as an emerald, crawls slowly across a wooden beam. He observes its tiny, determined journey, fascinated by the microcosm of life. His eyelids begin to feel heavy, weighted gently by the long vigil of the night. It is time to surrender to the restorative, quiet embrace of a midday slumber. He moves to the sleeping platform, covered with soft woven mats of river reed. The reeds rustle gently as he lies down, a sound like dry grass in the wind. He arranges a carved wooden headrest to support his neck comfortably. The light in the room is dim, filtered softly through the gaps in the thatch. Shadows play across the high ceiling, mimicking the constellations he studies. The sounds of the city outside blur into a gentle, continuous, distant hum. It is like the sound of a far-off ocean, constant, rhythmic, and unthreatening. His breathing slows, matching the rhythmic, hypnotic clacking of the loom. Thoughts of stars and calculations dissolve into formless, soft, drifting shapes. The boundary between waking and sleeping begins to thin and finally fade. He floats in a comfortable, weightless space between the earth and the dream world. The darkness behind his eyes is warm, inviting, and full of potential. Sleep comes to him not as a conqueror, but as a welcome, gentle friend. He sits up slowly, the woven mat leaving faint, intricate impressions on his skin. The air has changed, hanging heavy now with the electric promise of approaching rain. He stretches his arms, feeling the lingering stiffness of sleep dissolve from his muscles. Ixchel offers him a gourd of fresh water, cool from the porous clay jar. The water tastes of the deep earth, clean and grounding against his dry tongue. Outside, the light has turned a deep, saturated gold, thick and viscous, like honey. He steps out into the small courtyard, his bare feet gripping the cooling soil. The sky to the south is bruising purple, stacked high with towering, angry clouds. A sudden gust of wind rushes through the trees, turning the silver undersides of leaves over. The sharp, metallic smell of ozone and wet dust hits him, invigorating his senses. People are moving faster now, hurrying to finish their daily chores before the storm. He sees a neighbor gathering drying laundry, the white cotton flapping wildly like surrendered flags. Children laugh and chase the wind, excited by the coming chaotic change in weather. Kinich walks towards the small family altar tucked in the corner of the yard. He places a small piece of golden resin incense on the smoldering coals. The smoke spirals up, snatched away quickly and dispersed by the playful breeze. He murmurs a quiet, sincere thanks to the invisible spirits of the four directions. The thunder rumbles again, closer this time, shaking the ground gently beneath him. It is a conversation between the sky and the earth, loud, deep, and commanding. He feels a single drop of rain hit his shoulder, cool and shocking against his skin. Then another follows, tapping rhythmically against the dry leaves of the thatched roof. The rhythm of the afternoon shifts from slow, heavy heat to urgent, flowing energy. He watches the green canopy sway and dance under the invisible, mighty hand of the wind. The world is preparing to drink, to be washed clean of the day's accumulated dust. He retreats to the shelter of the overhang, watching the gray curtain fall. The rain begins in earnest, a sweeping sheet moving visibly across the plaza. The sound is a roar, a white noise drowning out all other voices of the city. It is a wall of sound, isolating him in a peaceful, protected pocket of dry silence. He watches the water carve small, temporary rivers into the dusty earth of the yard. Nature is reasserting its dominance, beautiful, overwhelming, and infinitely refreshing. The roar of the storm softens into a steady, rhythmic drumming on the thatch. It is a lullaby, sung by the heavens to the waiting earth. Cool mist sprays gently against his face, refreshing and clean. He turns back into the warm, glowing heart of the small home. Ixchel has fed the hearth fire with dry branches of pine. The flames dance and crackle, casting long, leaping shadows on the walls. The air inside is thick with the savory scent of black beans simmering. A hint of spicy chili hangs in the air, waking the senses gently. She shapes the last tortilla, her hands moving with ancient muscle memory. He sits near the fire, feeling the heat seep into his damp skin. The contrast between the cold rain outside and the warmth here is absolute. It is a feeling of safety, of a small fortress against the elements. She hands him a wooden bowl, the steam rising in curling ribbons. They eat in a comfortable, companionable silence, needing no words. The sound of chewing and the crackle of fire are the only interruptions. Outside, the day begins to fade into the gray embrace of twilight. The green of the jungle turns to a deep, mysterious black. rainwater drips from the eaves, counting the seconds like a water clock. Drop, 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 falling into the puddles below. He feels a deep gratitude for this simple nourishment. The food warms him from the inside, settling heavy and good in his stomach. His eyes trace the soot marks on the ceiling, reading them like stars. Every meal is a gift from the maize god, a cycle completed. The storm has scrubbed the world clean, leaving it fresh and new. The heavy humidity lifts, replaced by a crisp, washed clarity. He finishes the last bite, wiping the bowl clean with a piece of bread. A sense of drowsiness returns, not from fatigue, but from contentment. The firelight glows in Ixchel's dark eyes as she looks at him. It is a moment of perfect, suspended balance in the flow of time. The evening awaits, bringing with it the return of the stars. The rain slows to a sporadic, gentle dripping from the heavy trees. A profound silence settles over the jungle, heavy and expectant. The air is now scrubbed clean, crisp, and incredibly rare to the lungs. Kainich rises from the low stool, his movements becoming deliberate again. It is time to adorn himself for the nightly audience with the sky. He opens a cedar box, the wood smelling spicy, ancient, and sweet. From it, he lifts a necklace of heavy polished jade beads. They feel cold against his skin, green as the deepest part of the forest. Each bead represents a cycle, a prayer, a captured moment of time. He ties the leather thongs, feeling the familiar weight settle on his chest. Ixchel hands him his mantle, now dry and folded with care. Her hands brush his shoulder, a silent, grounding blessing for the night. He steps to the open doorway, inhaling the scent of wet earth. The smell of petrichor is strong, the perfume of the breathing soil. He steps out, his sandals squelching softly in the damp ground. Above, the clouds are breaking apart, revealing deep chasms of stars. The moon is fighting its way through the ragged edges of gray. Its light reflects in the hundreds of fresh puddles on the path. The ground has become a mirror, perfectly reflecting the heavens above. He walks through a world that is doubled, sky above and sky below. The chirping of frogs begins, a new orchestra for the wet night. Their throats swell with song, celebrating the generous gift of water. He navigates the winding path by memory and by the pale moonlight. The great pyramid looms ahead, dark and wet, glistening like obsidian. It rises from the earth like a man-made mountain of absolute order. The steps are slick, demanding respect and careful, slow attention. He begins the climb again, ascending toward the realm of the gods. The sleeping city below falls away, disappearing into the shadows. He is leaving the world of men to return to the world of time. The night has fully reclaimed him, cold, clear, and infinitely vast. He reaches the summit, breathless, his chest rising and falling in rhythm with the wind. The platform is washed clean, the stone shining like a polished mirror of silver. Here, high above the jungle, the air is thin, sharp, and exhilaratingly cold. He is alone in the center of the universe, a solitary point of consciousness. The clouds have fully dispersed, fleeing to the edges of the horizon like defeated armies. The Milky Way, the great white road, arches directly overhead in breathtaking glory. It looks like a river of spilled milk, glowing with a soft, ghostly luminescence. He sees the dark rift within it, the entrance to Xibalba, the underworld. It is a terrifying and beautiful abyss, a black silence amidst the light. He sets up his cross sticks, aligning them with the corner of the distant temple. Tonight, his eyes seek the wandering red star, the fiery shield of war. Mars burns with a steady, unblinking crimson light in the western sky. Its color is the color of dried blood, distinct against the diamond white of the other stars. He carefully records its position, noting its slow retrograde motion against the background. The movement is subtle, a secret whispered only to those who watch for lifetimes. The silence here is absolute, not the quiet of sleep, but the quiet of space. He feels the rotation of the earth beneath his feet, a slow, titanic turning. The city below is a black void, its fires extinguished, its people dreaming. He is the guardian of their dreams, the watcher who ensures the sun will return. A shooting star slashes across the zenith, a sudden scratch of white fire. He holds his breath, capturing the omen in his mind before it vanishes. The universe is alive, constantly speaking, constantly shifting its vast weight. He feels small, insignificant, yet crucially connected to the grand design. The cold stone of the parapet presses against his hip, a solid reality. He wraps his cloak tighter, the jaguar skin offering the warmth of the animal. The night deepens, the darkness becoming thicker, more textured and profound. He is suspended in a void of stars, floating in the great celestial ocean. Time dissolves completely here. There is no past, no future, only the eternal now. He is merely an eye, seeing for the gods, witnessing the beauty of creation. The cosmos breathes, and he breathes with it, in perfect, silent unison. He turns his gaze from the red wanderer to the crossed wooden sticks. The sighting tool is simple, yet it unlocks the infinite secrets of the sky. He aligns his eye with the smooth V-shaped notch carved into the wood. Through this narrow aperture, chaos organizes itself into perfect, divine order. He picks up a handful of small, smooth counting stones from a pouch. They click softly together in his palm, a dry, mineral sound like rattling bones. He places one stone on a low wall for every celestial cycle passed. The mathematics of his people is a language of dots and bars. In his mind, numbers are not abstract. They are living gods with faces. He visualizes the number 0, the shell glyph, empty yet holding everything. It is the cosmic seed from which all other numbers grow and bloom. The wind picks up, whistling low and mournful through the open stonework. It sounds like a flute played by a lonely spirit in the dark void. He feels a shiver, not of cold, but of proximity to the unseen. The veil between the worlds is thinnest here at this deep hour. He murmurs the ancient names of the days, Imix, Ik, Akbal. The words taste like old dust, copal, and starlight on his tongue. He is calculating the rise of the morning star for the Chumash planting. The farmers sleeping below depend on these silent, solitary calculations. If he errs, the corn may wither, and the people may suffer hunger. The weight of this responsibility settles on his shoulders like a heavy mantle. He checks the alignment again, doubting, then confirming with absolute certainty. Precision is his offering, the only sacrifice the stars truly demand. The stones on the wall form a pattern, a prophecy written in miniature. He traces the shape with his finger, memorizing the sacred sequence. The night sky seems to nod in silent, glittering approval of his work. A sense of deep, rhythmic satisfaction fills his chest and mind. He is a weaver of time, knitting the days into a seamless tapestry. The pattern is complex, endless, and terrifyingly beautiful to behold. He rests his hands, letting the starlight wash over them like water. He lifts his eyes to the great rift, the dark road to the underworld. It is not empty space, but a river of shadow flowing through light. The ancients call it the Waka Chan, the erected world tree of the cosmos. Its roots are buried deep in the dark southern horizon, drinking from the void. Its branches spread wide across the north, holding up the canopy of stars. He imagines the souls of the ancestors climbing this great, shimmering ladder. They move silently, like motes of dust caught in a beam of moonlight. The air around him feels thick with their invisible, watching presence. He whispers a greeting to his grandfather, who taught him the names of the stars. The memory of the old man's voice is as clear as the cricket's song. "Watch the edges," he used to say, "for that is where the truth hides." Kainich scans the periphery of the river, looking for the canoe stars. They float gently on the celestial current, carrying the maize god. It is a story painted in light, retold every night for eternity. The stillness of the night amplifies the beating of his own heart. Thump, 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 a drum echoing in the silence. He feels a kinship with the jaguar, the nocturnal lord of the jungle. Like the jaguar, he hunts in the dark, but his prey is knowledge. He seeks the patterns that hide in the chaos of the night sky. A cool breeze touches his cheek, soft as a moth's wing. It carries the scent of night-blooming cereus, sweet and intoxicating. The flower blooms only for the moon, dying with the first light of dawn. He appreciates this fleeting beauty, this secret shared only with the night. Everything in his world is connected by invisible, unbreakable threads. The flower, the star, the stone, and the man are all one. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting the visual world fade away. The sounds of the night rush in to fill the void left by sight. The wind hums against the stone corners of the observatory platform. It creates a low, mournful vibration that resonates in his bones. He is an instrument, tuned to the frequency of the universe. He opens his eyes, and the world returns, washed in pale silver light. The moon has climbed higher, shedding its veil of clouds completely. It hangs like a polished bone mask in the center of the obsidian sky. Oh, its light is cold, sharp, and utterly unforgiving in its clarity. He observes the shadowed craters, seeing the rabbit on the moon clearly. The light spills over the observatory walls like liquid mercury. It catches the edges of the carved rain god masks on the temple facade. The stone faces seem to breathe, animated by the shifting living shadows. He watches a shadow creep slowly across the eye of a stone serpent. It is a slow, silent eclipse happening on the scale of mere inches. Time is measured here not by mechanics, but by the flow of light. He feels the dampness of the night settling into his cotton clothes. It is a heavy, clinging sensation, like a second skin of water. He does not shiver. He accepts the moisture as part of the night. The stone beneath his hand is rough, pitted by centuries of tropical rain. He runs a finger over a small patch of velvet soft green moss. It drinks the night air, alive and growing in the profound silence. Even the stone is alive here, hosting tiny, invisible worlds upon its surface. He leans forward, resting his forehead against the cool, damp rock. It feels solid, a permanent anchor in a dizzying, spinning universe. His thoughts slow down, becoming heavy and fluid like dark honey. The concerns of the day are now distant, forgotten memories. There is only this moment, suspended in the amber of the night. A bat flits past, a silent flicker of darkness against the stars. Its movement is erratic, yet perfectly controlled in the gloom. He follows its path until it vanishes into the black ocean of the jungle. Every creature has its specific place in the great, complex machine. He takes a deep breath, tasting the ozone and the ancient limestone. The peace of the summit is a physical weight, pressing him gently down. He is rooted here, a human tree growing from the stone temple. The night wears on, dragging its heavy starry cloak across the sky. The constellation of the great turtle begins its slow, heavy descent into the west. Kinich adjusts his stance, shifting his weight on legs stiff from stillness. The wind changes direction, bringing a sudden drift of warmer air from the valleys. It rustles the dry palm fronds of a distant roof far below. The sound is soft and dry, like the whispering of invisible spirits. He reaches for a small gourd hanging at his waist by leather cord. The water inside is tepid now, but it soothes his dry throat. He looks down at the sleeping city once more, studying the shadows. It appears like a map of silence, geometric, dark, and perfectly still. He wonders briefly about the dreams of the people sleeping there. Do they dream of the rain or of the jaguar stalking in the bush? His own dreams are filled with spinning numbers and celestial wheels. The logic of the heavens has seeped deep into his very soul. A thick cloud passes over the moon, dimming the world momentarily. The darkness rushes back in, reclaiming the stone platform completely. In this sudden dark, his hearing becomes sharper, more acute. He hears the sharp, dry snap of a twig in the jungle below. A nightjar calls out, a strange, bubbling song that rises and falls. The jungle is a restless sleeper, tossing and turning in its bed. He feels a kinship with the nocturnal watchers of the deep forest. They share this secret world, hidden away from the burning sun. The cloud passes slowly, and the silver light floods back in. The stone glows again, spectral and pale against the black sky. He returns to his notebook, the bark paper waiting for his hand. He draws the glyph for the moon, a curved bone filled with water. The ink flows smoothly, darker than the night surrounding him. Each stroke is a memory preserved carefully for the distant future. He is a historian of the present moment, a scribe of the now. The archive of the sky grows one page larger in the silence. The hours of the night drift by like slow-moving clouds across a mountain. He turns his gaze toward the southern sky, seeking the cosmic hearth. 3 bright stars form a perfect triangle in the deep velvet dark. These are the stones of the first hearth, laid down at the beginning of time. In their center burns the smoky fire of creation, a hazy nebula of light. He sees the connection between the sky and the earth with sudden clarity. Just as Ixchel tends the fire in their home, the gods tend this fire above. The universe is not a cold void, but a vast, warm dwelling place. As above, so below, he whispers into the cool, moving wind. He feels a profound sense of belonging, a comfort deep in his chest. The stars are not distant strangers, but the oldest of ancestors. He reaches for the clay incense burner resting on the low wall. The embers inside have faded to a dull, dying gray ash. From his pouch, he selects a tear of golden copal resin. He places it carefully onto the sleeping heat of the charcoal. For a moment, nothing happens, only the silence of the waiting night. Then a tiny spark wakes up, glowing fierce and bright orange. It is a newborn star held safely within the cup of clay. A thin ribbon of fragrant white smoke begins to rise upward. It climbs steadily, twisting and dancing toward the Milky Way. The scent of pine and lemon fills the small stone space again. He watches the smoke merge with the ghostly light of the stars. It is a bridge between his mortal hand and the divine realm. The spark fades slowly, returning to the gentle sleep of ash. But the offering has been received, carried away on the breeze. He feels the peace of the ritual settle over him like a blanket. The night is long, but he is never truly alone in the dark. He is accompanied by the fire, the smoke, and the silent watchers. His duty is a conversation that never truly ends. He leans back, his eyes tracing the slow, majestic arc of the heavens. The great wheel of the sky turns with infinite, silent slowness. The constellation of the Shark begins its dive into the western tree line. He watches the stars vanish one by one behind the jagged leaves. The jungle below has changed its song, deepening its tone. The high-pitched crickets have ceased, replaced by a rhythmic, low thrumming. It is the sound of the earth sleeping, deep and dreamless. He feels a pleasant heaviness in his limbs, a stone-like calm. The air is still, holding its breath in the deep middle hours. Fireflies begin to drift up from the canopy like floating sparks. They mirror the stars above, a living reflection of the cosmos. Green light pulses softly against the black backdrop of the trees. He watches one tiny light float past his face, silent and cool. It is a magical convergence of the earth and the sky. He feels suspended in a sphere of twinkling lights. The boundary between up and down seems to dissolve gently. There is no gravity here, only the drift of the night. He closes his eyes, seeing the after-images of the stars. They burn as bright points of light against his eyelids. The solitude is a thick, protective cloak around him. He is the only witness to this silent, bioluminescent dance. A sense of wonder expands in his chest, warm and filling. The world is so vast, yet he holds it all in his gaze. He breathes in the damp, fern-scented air slowly, exhaling the fatigue, inhaling the ancient peace of the stones. The stone platform feels like a raft on a dark ocean, drifting, drifting, drifting through the endless river of time. He is safe, he is watched over, he is at peace. The night, holds him gently in its cupped giant hands. Silence returns, deeper and softer than before. The heart of the night beats slow and steady. The fireflies slowly disperse, fading back into the deep green abyss below. Darkness reclaims the space, solid, heavy, and absolute once more. He wraps his arms around himself, preserving the warmth of his body. The air has grown significantly colder, biting gently at his exposed skin. He looks towards the zenith, searching for the rattlesnake constellation. The stars of the Pleiades cluster, huddled close together in the vast expanse. To his people, they are the zab, the rattle of the great celestial serpent. They shimmer with a cold blue-white intensity against the obsidian void. He counts them carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Their presence is a reliable marker of the agricultural season to come. He imagines the heavy rains they will eventually bring to the thirsty fields. The connection between these tiny lights and the harvest is absolute. He picks up the reed stylus again, scratching a note onto the paper. The sound is rough, a friction that briefly breaks the perfect silence. He pauses, listening to the echo of his own movement fade away. A heavy dew has begun to settle on every exposed stone surface. The ledge is slick with moisture, shining like a sheet of wet glass. He wipes a bead of water from his brow, cool and refreshing to the touch. The smell of the jungle is changing, becoming earthier and much richer. It smells of decaying leaves, wet wood, and deep, fertile soil. He feels the immense, crushing age of the forest breathing around him. Trees that have stood for centuries are silent witnesses in the dark. He feels ephemeral, a fleeting shadow against their ancient permanence. Yet his work gives him a solid place in the eternal record of time. He is the voice of the silence, the wakened eye of the darkness. The wind shifts again, rustling the long feathers of his headdress. It whispers through the stone crevices like a secret, forgotten language. He leans against the wall, his eyelids heavy with a calm fatigue. The night is a vast ocean, and he is drifting in its center. Peace is not just a feeling here. It is the very air he breathes. He sits down on the stone bench, pulling his knees to his chest. The stone is hard, unyielding, yet strangely comforting in its solidity. He wraps the jaguar skin mantle tightly around his shoulders for warmth. The spots on the fur seem to blend with the shadows of the night. He feels like a creature of the wild, camouflaged against the dark. His breath creates a faint, ghostly mist that vanishes in seconds. It is a reminder of the fleeting nature of breath against the eternal stone. He closes his eyes for a moment, listening to the pulse of the jungle. Far below, the leaves rustle with the movement of unseen nocturnal life. He imagines the jaguar stalking, silent and deadly, on the forest floor. The great cat is the earthly mirror of the night sun traveling the underworld. He feels a deep, vibration-like connection to the predator in the dark. Both are watchers, both are silent, both are awake, while others sleep. The wind picks up slightly, whistling a low note through the observatory windows. It sounds like the breath of the stone building itself. He leans his head back against the cool wall, staring up endlessly. The stars above seem to stop twinkling, burning with a steady, hard light. He locates the great bear, known to his people as Seven Macaw. It hangs low, dipping its feathers toward the northern horizon. The rotation is slow, imperceptible to the eye, but felt in the blood. Time is a wheel, and he is sitting at the very hub of it. A sense of profound isolation washes over him, but it is not lonely. It is a solitude filled with the voices of the past and the future. He wonders if his son will one day sit on this same cold bench. Will he see the same stars, or will the heavens have shifted? The thought brings a melancholy sweetness to his quiet vigil. He is but a single link in a chain that stretches back to the beginning. The darkness feels protective, a womb of silence holding him safe. He allows his mind to drift untethered into the sea of the night. The world is asleep, and he is the guardian of its slumber. The wind dies down completely, leaving a vacuum of absolute heavy silence. It is the deepest hour, the time when spirits walk the white stone roads. Keenich feels a heavy spiritual pressure in the air around him. He stands up slowly, shaking the numbness from his cold, stiff limbs. His shadow stretches long and thin across the pale limestone floor. It looks like a dark spirit tethered to his heels, mimicking his moves. He walks to the edge of the platform, looking down at the sack bay. The white road glows faintly, a line of chalk drawn through the jungle. It connects the temples like a silver artery carrying the lifeblood of the city. No one walks upon it now. It is abandoned to the moonlight and the gods. He imagines the processions of the day, the colors, the drums, the noise. But now it is a ghostly path, silent and incredibly peaceful. The jungle canopy below is a textured sea of black and gray shapes. He can smell the distinct scent of damp moss rising from the stones below. It is an ancient smell, the perfume of time and patience. He turns back to the sky, checking the position of the cross sticks. The stars have shifted again, marching relentlessly towards the west. He feels the rotation of the earth as a physical sensation in his gut. We are all travelers on a great stone canoe floating through the void. It touches the cold stone of the wall, grounding himself in reality. The texture is rough, comforting, and real against his fingertips. He breathes in deeply, filling his lungs with the pure, thin night air. The fatigue in his eyes is a heavy, warm weight, urging him to close them. But his will is stronger. He is the sentinel who must not sleep. He splashes a little water from the gourd onto his face. The shock of cold is immediate, sharpening his blurred vision instantly. He blinks, and the stars snap back into sharp, crystalline focus. The vigil continues, a silent battle against the heavy pull of dreams. He is the anchor, holding the city to the rhythm of the sky. The night is his temple, and silence is his only prayer. The great river of stars has shifted its course, flowing now from north to south. It looks like a cascade of silver water falling into the southern horizon. Kenichi observes this silent celestial turning with a calm, practiced eye. The universe is a great machine of interlocking cycles, grinding slowly on. He imagines the great gears of time turning in the darkness above. Click, Click, click. The seconds fall away like seeds. He feels the immense weight of the sky pressing down on the world. It is a comforting weight, like a heavy blanket tucked in tight. He checks the water level in the ceramic bowl placed on the wall. The water has evaporated slightly, marking the passage of 2 hours. Time is a fluid thing here, measured by water and light. He dips his finger into the bowl, breaking the surface tension. Ripples spread outward, distorting the reflection of the stars within. It is a small chaos in a world of perfect, rigid order. He watches until the water stills again, becoming a perfect mirror once more. The reflection of the star Betelgeuse returns, steady and orange. He feels a kinship with that distant fire burning alone in the void. The dampness of the air has soaked into the limestone blocks. They smell of wet chalk and deep, ancient earth history. He runs his hand along the rough edge of the parapet. The stone is cool and gritty, a texture of absolute reality. He feels grounded, connected to the earth, while his mind floats above. A sense of detachment grows, a floating sensation of the spirit. The problems of the day, the heat, the hunger, are forgotten memories. There is only the vigil, the sky, and the silence. He breathes in the cool, thin air, tasting the night. It fills him with a clean, cold energy that keeps him awake. He is a vessel for the starlight, a container for the night. The boundaries of his body seem to soften and expand. He is becoming part of the stone, part of the sky, part of the night. The cold of the pre-dawn hour settles deep into the marrow of the stone. He pulls his limbs tighter, conserving the precious heat of life. The jungle below is absolutely silent, holding its breath in anticipation. This is the void, the stillness that precedes the great awakening. He turns his eyes to the eastern horizon, which is still black as ink. He is waiting for the great Lord, the morning star, to rise from the dead. To his people, this star is Chak-Ek, the fierce and brilliant warrior. Its arrival is more important than the sun, more potent than the moon. He cleans the lens of his vision, blinking away the fatigue of the vigil. A heavy mist has risen from the forest floor, obscuring the ground. The observatory floats now above a sea of white, spectral clouds. He feels like he is standing on the shore of a vast, silent ocean. Suddenly, a point of piercing white light breaks the horizon line. It is sharp, diamond-hard, and incredibly bright against the darkness. Venus has returned from the underworld, victorious and radiant. The light shimmers through the heavy atmosphere, trembling like a drop of water. He feels a surge of awe, a physical reaction to the celestial beauty. He marks the exact position on the wall with a piece of charcoal. The alignment is perfect, just as the ancestors predicted long ago. The cycle remains unbroken. The cosmic order holds firm and true. He breathes out a long, slow sigh of relief and gratitude. The star casts a faint, eerie shadow of his hand onto the book. It is the little sun, the herald that announces the coming day. The light is cold, blue, and utterly mesmerizing in its intensity. He cannot look away, caught in the hypnotic gaze of the planet. The rest of the sky seems to dim in deference to this new arrival. He feels the power of the star resonating in his own blood. It is a moment of pure connection between the human and the divine. The world is still dark, but the promise of light has been kept. He rests his eyes, the image of the star burning behind his lids. With the arrival of the great star, the energy of the night begins to change. The deep black of the sky softens, diluting into a profound dark gray. The other stars, sensing their master, begin to retreat into the background. Kanich watches the constellation of the Scorpion fade slowly into the mist. Its tail, once bright and stinging, becomes a ghost of faint light. The cold intensifies, a final sharp breath before the sun's warmth returns. He shivers once, a ripple of movement that travels down his spine. He rubs his arms briskly, the friction creating a small comforting heat. The stone beneath his feet feels icier now than at any other time. It draws the heat from his body, reminding him of his mortality. He pulls the jaguar skin up to his chin, burying his nose in the fur. It smells of musk and dry grass, a scent that grounds him deeply. The silence of the jungle is broken by the first tentative call of a howler monkey. It is a low, guttural roar that rolls across the canopy like thunder. Roar, 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 marking the territory of the waking giants. He knows this sound well. It is the alarm clock of the rainforest. Another answers from a distant hill, a conversation across the miles. The city below remains invisible, hidden beneath the thick blanket of white fog. He feels like a solitary island keeper in a sea of clouds. The dampness condenses on his eyelashes, blurring the sharp light of Venus. He blinks, and a star scatters into 1,000 tiny prismatic rainbows. The world is beautiful, wet, and waiting for the touch of color. He feels a deep, abiding patience settled into his bones. There is no need to rush. The sun will rise exactly when it must. He leans against the pillar, his posture relaxed and yielding. The tension of the calculations has drained away, leaving only peace. He is merely a witness now, no longer a scribe or a mathematician. The universe unfolds its petals slowly, without effort or strain. He breathes in the gray air, tasting the coming day. It tastes of change, of renewal, and of returning life. The gray of the sky begins to dilute, turning into a soft, powdery blue. It is the color of a heron's wing, cool, delicate, and infinitely calm. The mist begins to swirl gently, stirred by the waking thermal currents. He watches a gap form in the white ocean, revealing a glimpse of deep green. The tops of the trees emerge like islands rising from a receding sea. The chorus of the birds begins to swell, joining the deep call of the monkeys. A toucan calls nearby, a dry, rattling sound from the high branches. He turns his face to the east, where the light is gathering its strength. The sharp edge of the horizon begins to glow with a faint amber line. It is the first whisper of the sun, a promise written in colored light. He feels the darkness retreating, hiding in the deep crevices of the stone. The shadows lose their hard edges, becoming soft, diffuse, and blurry. He gathers his counting stones, placing them back into the leather pouch. The click of the stones is the sound of the night's work finally ending. He closes the bark book, protecting the secrets he has recorded within. The leather cover feels smooth and warm from the touch of his hands. He stands up fully, stretching his back against the pull of gravity. His joints pop softly, a personal rhythm in the morning, quiet. The air tastes sweeter now, filled with the fresh oxygen of waking plants. He looks at the Venus star one last time before it vanishes. It is fading rapidly now, surrendering its throne to the coming king. He bows his head slightly, a gesture of silent respect to the watcher. The vigil is ending, but the cycle never truly stops turning. He feels a sense of quiet accomplishment, of a sacred duty fulfilled. The city below is beginning to breathe, shaking off the heavy sleep. Faint lines of wood smoke begin to rise from unseen hearths below. The smell of burning wood joins the smell of the damp mist. It is the scent of home calling him back from the sky. He prepares to descend, to return to the world of men. The stone steps wait for him, leading him gently back to earth. He begins the descent, his sandals slapping softly against the stone steps. The mist clings to his ankles, swirling like heavy white smoke around his legs. With each step down, the air grows slightly warmer and thicker with humidity. He leaves the realm of the gods and returns slowly to the realm of men. The great plaza below is no longer a void, but a place of emerging shapes. He sees the first people appearing, small brown figures in the gray light. They move silently, like actors taking their places on a vast, misty stage. The silence of the high altitude is replaced by the soft, growing hum of life. He runs his hand along the limestone wall, feeling its rough, damp history. It is a touch of goodbye, a silent promise to return when the sun sets. The staircase spirals gently, guiding him down in a rhythmic, circular motion. He feels the gravity of the earth reclaiming him, pulling him gently home. A flock of green parrots bursts from the canopy, screaming their morning joy. Their bright wings are flashes of emerald against a pale morning sky. The sound is loud, jarring, but full of vibrant, undeniable life energy. He smiles, his eyes crinkling at the corners with a deep, quiet, weary joy. The world is waking up, and he has successfully guided it through the dark. He reaches the bottom of the stairs, stepping onto the wet grass of the base. The dew soaks into his sandals, cool and refreshing against his tired feet. He looks back up at the tower, looming dark and tall against the brightening sky. It stands like a silent sentinel, a stone finger pointing eternally upwards. The connection is broken physically, but remains strong within his mind. He adjusts the heavy jade necklace, feeling its weight settle on his chest. The walk back to his home is a journey through a waking dream. The light is changing rapidly now, shifting from blue to a pale, soft gold. Shadows stretch long and thin across the wet ground, pointing west. He nods to a woman carrying a jar of water on her head, balanced perfectly. She smiles back, a shared acknowledgement of the new day's beginning. The community is a web of connections, and he is a vital strand within it. He walks with the slow, easy gait of a man who has seen the infinite. He walks through the narrow lanes, flanked by white limestone walls. The sun has fully crested the horizon, painting the world in gold. Long shadows retreat, hiding under the eaves of the thatched roofs. The air is filled with the comforting sweet smoke of morning fires. He passes a group of men gathering their tools for the fields. They carry digging sticks and heavy gourds filled with water. Their voices are low and murmuring, a gentle rumble of community. He feels a deep, silent bond with these workers of the earth. They turn the soil below, while he reads the soil above. Both are necessary for the maize to grow and the people to live. He pauses to admire a squash vine climbing a wooden fence. A massive yellow blossom has opened to greet the morning light. Inside the flower, a fat bumblebee is already hard at work. Buzz, 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 the sound of industry and life. The rhythm of the day is faster, more urgent than the night. But he carries the stillness of the stars deep within his chest. It is a secret shield against the noise and the bright glare. He reaches the woven gate of his own humble dwelling. The wood of the latch is smooth and polished by years of use. He lifts it gently, the mechanism making a soft, familiar click. Entering the courtyard feels like stepping into a warm embrace. The golden dog rises to greet him, tail thumping the dust. It stretches long and low, bowing to the master of the house. The familiar domesticity washes over him like a warm bath. He is no longer the high priest of time, but a man returning home. The chickens scratch contentedly in the dirt, clucking softly. Every small detail is precious to eyes tired from the vastness. He takes a deep breath, smelling the safety of his own space. The journey is complete. The circle has successfully closed. He walks towards the open door, seeking the shade within. He steps across the threshold into the cool, dim interior of the house. The sudden drop in temperature is a refreshing, physical embrace. Ixchel looks up from the hearth, her face glowing warm in the firelight. She does not speak. The silence is their shared, comfortable language. He lifts the heavy feathered headdress from his tired brow. The weight vanishes instantly, leaving him feeling light and floating. He places it gently on the shelf, the feathers settling softly like birds. Next, the heavy jade necklace is untied with slow, clumsy fingers. Click, click. The green stones settle into their cedar box. He is shedding the heavy layers of the night, one by one. He is no longer the high astronomer. He is simply Kainich, the man. He rolls his stiff shoulders, feeling the tension melt away like hot wax. The smell of the room is comforting, corn, wood smoke, and dry clay. He sits on the low wooden stool, his legs grateful for the sudden rest. Ixchel places a hand on his shoulder, her palm warm and grounding. It is a simple touch that connects him firmly back to the earth. He closes his eyes for a second, leaning slightly into her strength. The world stops spinning for a moment, holding its breath in the quiet. He feels the safety of these four walls wrapping tighter around him. Outside, the sun climbs. Inside, time slows down to a crawl. He watches dust motes dancing in a single, sharp beam of light. They look like tiny golden stars floating in a miniature universe. Everything is a reflection of the great cosmos he watches above. He takes a deep, cleansing breath, letting go of the long vigil. His duty is done. His watch has ended perfectly and without error. Now the day belongs to others. The rest belongs solely to him. He smiles, a small private expression of deep, settling peace. The house is a sanctuary, a quiet, shadowed cave of comfort. He is ready to surrender to the simple, human needs of the body. Peace is here, waiting for him patiently in the cool shadows. He moves towards the sleeping platform, the reeds whispering a soft welcome. The woven mat is cool and smooth against his weary skin. He lies down, letting the full weight of his body sink into the earth. It is a surrender, a graceful falling into the arms of rest. He arranges the wooden headrest, finding the perfect angle for sleep. His eyelids feel heavy, made of lead and stone. The bright world outside fades into a soft, glowing orange haze. The sounds of the city become a distant rhythmic murmur. Voices, footsteps, and wind blend into a single, soothing song. He is safe here, tucked away in the quiet heart of his home. The calculations of the night dissolve like mist in the sun. There are no more numbers, no more stars, only this moment. His breathing slows, matching the slow, deep rhythm of the ocean. Inhale, exhale, a tide of relaxation washing over him. He feels the tension leaving his fingertips and his toes. It drains away into the ground, leaving him light and empty. A cool breeze wanders in, brushing his cheek with a gentle touch. It carries the scent of distant rain and blooming flowers. He floats in the space between the waking world and the dream world. Thoughts drift by like clouds, formless and unattached. He does not reach for them. He lets them pass. The darkness behind his eyes is rich, warm, and inviting. He is a seed planted in the soil of sleep, waiting to be renewed, restored, and reborn. The silence of the room is a heavy, comforting blanket. He wraps it around his mind, shutting out the light. Deeper and deeper he sinks, down into the velvet quiet. The vigil is over, and the time for rest has finally come. He lets go of the last thread of consciousness and drifts away. As his breathing settles into a slow, deep rhythm, the world shifts around him. The sounds of the household become textures in the tapestry of his dream. The rhythmic clack-clack of Ixchel's loom transforms into something else. In his mind, it becomes the sound of the cosmic canoe paddling through the stars. He is no longer lying on a reed mat in a humble hut. He is floating weightless in the great, dark river of the night sky. The stars are not far away now. They are close enough to touch. They feel cool and smooth, like polished jade beads against his fingers. He drifts past the great winking eye of the jaguar star. It watches him with a gaze that is ancient, wise, and kind. The boundaries of his physical body dissolve completely into the ether. He is no longer a man. He is a whisper of consciousness in the void. The worries of the harvest and the calendar fade into insignificance. There is only the eternal comforting flow of the great cycle. He feels a profound sense of unity with everything that has ever existed. The ancestors are there, smiling from the edges of the Milky Way. They welcome him into the silent, restful hall of sleep. The darkness is not empty. It is full of potential and peace. He floats on a current of pure, undisturbed tranquility. Time unspools like a golden thread, endless and unbroken. He is resting in the very center of the universe's heartbeat. Thump, thump, slow, steady, and infinitely reassuring. The light in his dream is soft, silver, and healing to the spirit. He drinks it in, letting it wash away the dust of the earth. Every muscle, every thought, every fear is washed clean. He is suspended in a perfect moment of absolute stillness. The waking world is a distant memory, a story told by someone else. Here, in the deep sleep, he is finally, truly home. He drifts deeper past the dreams into the velvet void, resting. The sun outside continues its arc, marking the hours of the day. But within the sanctuary of the dream, time has ceased to exist. He rests in the timeless space that all sleepers know well. It is a place of absolute safety, beyond a reach of worry. His chest rises and falls, a slow tide on a calm shore. Every breath draws in the deep, restorative peace of the earth. The weariness of the vigil is slowly washed away by the silence. He is being remade, cell by cell, in the quiet dark. Just as the corn sleeps in the earth before rising, so does he. The cycle of rest is as sacred as the cycle of the stars. He floats in a suspension of warm, heavy comfort. The blanket of sleep is tucked tight around his consciousness. No sound from the outside world can breach this fortress. He is protected by the stone, by the gods, and by the peace. A profound stillness anchors him to the woven mat. He is heavy, sinking deeper into the soft support. The light in the room shifts gently, softening with the afternoon. Shadows lengthen again, stretching out to cover him. The day passes in a blur of golden light and heat, but he remains untouched, safe in his cool, shadowed cocoon. This is the gift of the body to the spirit, a time to pause, to stop, to simply be. He is not doing, he is not thinking, he is only resting. The silence deepens, becoming a rich velvet texture. It fills the room, the house, and the world of his mind. He is one with the quiet, one with the stillness, drifting on a sea of calm that has no shore. The peace is total, absolute, and infinite. He has found the perfect balance of the soul, resting, waiting, sleeping in the deep. And so, the jungle city sleeps under the protective gaze of the infinite stars. The fires in the hearths have burned down to soft, glowing embers. Kinich drifts in the deep, silent river of dreams, far away from time. Our journey through this ancient day has now come to its quiet end. Now, it is your turn to let go of the waking world completely. Let the images of stone temples and green forests fade gently from your mind. Feel the heavy, warm comfort of your own bed supporting you. Release the last bit of tension from your shoulders and your brow. You are safe, you are warm, and you are deeply, profoundly at peace. The same stars that watched over him are watching over you tonight. There is nothing more to do, nothing more to see, nothing more to solve. Let the darkness wrap around you like a soft, protective cloak. Drift away now, carried on the slow, silent current of sleep. The past and the present have merged into one peaceful silence. Your breathing is slow, deep, and steady as the night itself. Close your eyes, dear traveler, and surrender to the rest. The history books are closed, the vigil is over. Good night, watcher of the stars. Good night, seeker of peace. Sleep well.